Off Script with Trish Glose, intimate interviews and conversations with interesting people. In front of my mic today is Neil Clooney of Smithfields in Ashland. Hello.
Good morning, Trish.
Good morning to you. You also own Pub and Pies.
Yeah, I have the Smithfields Empire in Ashland.
Right.
Two restaurants.
I know, two. That's pretty big.
Yeah.
Right across the street from each other.
It's perfect.
Not a lot of walking, right?
Yeah, it's like a 45-second commute.
Oh, that's awesome. We're going to talk a lot about Smithfields and Pub and Pies, but as usual, I always like to start these off with, where are you from originally?
I am from a town called Hemel Hempstead in the United Kingdom.
Okay. And what was your childhood like?
Well, we moved from Hemel Hempstead when I was about 18 months old, and we moved to a town called Wokingham, which was back then a very rural town.
Okay.
You could smell pig farms when you woke up in the morning, and my parents had like a 7-Eleven kind of style store next to it, but we used to have all our own fruit and veg that we grew and we put in the store, and we had a post office in the back, and me and my dad would go to cash and carry every week and get stuff for the store. Mm-hmm. So it was like a small grocery store.
Okay, where in the UK are we talking? Kind of give me, and I know nothing about where anything is in the UK.
So Wokingham is in the county of Berkshire, which is the only royal county in England. It's where the Windsor Castle is in that county, like Jackson County.
Yeah.
I lived in Berkshire. It's about 30 miles west of London, like literally straight west down the M4. That's the motorway.
Okay.
And now it's a big commuter town for London because it's like an hour on the train. And so all these pig farms and lots of open fields and that are now, just loads of houses, big communities. So it's turned into this real commuter kind of town now.
Is that a bit sad for you?
It was a little sad when I went back a few years ago, and I was like, damn, I remember that used to be a field. Now it's just like tons of houses.
What do pig farms smell like in the morning?
It's definitely a smell you get used to.
Right.
And I mean, we were maybe half a mile away from it. I mean, it's not as intense as if you're actually on the farm. I think when you're actually on the farm, you're like, oh my God, it's terrible. Mm-hmm.
Stings the nostrils.
Yeah, it's almost a smell that you get used to and kind of like has that kind of comforting, I don't know if that's the right word, but it feels normal.
Yeah.
I mean, if you deal with something every day, you get used to it, so it's not like,
sure.
Not like, oh God, it stinks today.
Right.
It's like, oh.
Well, you've noticed News 10 is right across the street from a lovely farm, and in the springtime, it often smells like chicken poop because it's fertilizer, they fertilize, and so while it stinks, it's awful, but it does remind you, it's like, oh, spring is here. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that reminder, I guess.
Totally.
Yeah. So you guys moved at 18 months, and so did you live the majority of...
Yeah, I lived my whole school years in this town called Wokingham.
Okay.
And yeah, it was cool. We had the greengrocer shops. We would constantly go to like pick your own farms and that and pick strawberries in the summertime. And we would grow like runner beans and other produce, and we would stock most of the produce ourselves.
Okay.
And I had a paper round.
Really?
It was like my mum used to get up. She had, 4 days off a year. It was like Christmas Day, Boxing Day, Good Friday, and I think it was New Year's Day. It was the only days I didn't do papers.
That's wild.
She would get up at 6 o'clock every single morning and put the papers together. And on Sundays, you have all those supplements that you have to put together. They all come separate. So you literally have to put them all together. And I used to help her do that. And then I used to go on my paper round, and I had the dodgiest paper round route because I was the son. So it was the one that was on an unpaved road, so it was all potholey, and you'd go down there and wouldn't be able to see. Every week you get multiple punches in your bike, and you'd have to be constantly repairing your bike punches.
Man.
But no one else wanted to do it, so Mum was like, well, you're the son, you get to have to.
Right. Was she in charge of the paper? Like that was her job, or?
She would run the shop. My dad was a bookie. He had a free bookmaker shops.
Okay. And then the store that you guys had, your family had, you said you grew a lot of stuff to stock that store.
Yeah, we had an acre of land behind our house, so we had chickens, so we had eggs that we would put in there, and we grew vegetables and that, and it was fun. We had the paper round, and I said my dad was a bookmaker, so he had free stores, so he was constantly out doing those. I didn't really see him that much, but I would do my paper round every morning and get the bus to school. And
so food was very much in your life from very early.
mm-hmm.
I mean, and food meaning fresh, like farm, growing, living off the land food.
Right, it was. I would say the problem we had was that my parents were both so busy
Right.
that they didn't really have time or want to have time to really cook.
Cook all this beautiful food that was on
they
your
were just
land.
like, we're getting it, we're selling it, we're doing it, but do I want to spend hours in the kitchen and making these nice dinners? So
Yeah, no.
a lot of it was like fish fingers out of the freezer and, frozen peas and just like real quick. My mum would make a mean Sunday roast or a nice casserole or something like that. But, during the week it was just quick, convenient.
Sure.
Your
childhood sounds very idyllic. You know what I mean? It's just this, you had a paper route and you guys had a store
Yeah.
and you had chickens and
Yeah.
a farm and
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It just sounds very storybook-like.
Yeah, I mean, Wokingham is a cool little town. Now, again, you go there now and it's all chain restaurants now. That's happened a lot in the English high streets. All the restaurants are now, they're like a photocopy of the next town over,
Oh,
you see
yeah.
the same
It's kind of sad.
fast food restaurants, the same coffee shops, the same, it's
Yeah.
all,
Which is what we see here
right.
a lot. You move to a town, it's like, oh, they have this, they have Starbucks, yay. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So it's like,
I remember when we got our first McDonald's in Wokingham, it was like the most exciting thing ever. Like, yeah, we got McDonald's, and now it's just like, oh.
right? Did you go when it was there, or?
Yeah. When I used to go visit my gran in Hemel Hempstead, she used to take me to McDonald's there, and she would never let me ever get a Big Mac.
Really?
She was like, you can have one cheeseburger, and if you want another cheeseburger, I'll get you another cheeseburger.
But no Big Mac.
You can't have the Big Mac.
I wonder, what was her reasoning, you think?
She thought it was too much food, so
That's awesome.
2 cheeseburgers equals 1 Big Mac?
Yeah.
Not really,
No,
but...
Grandma says no.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. What were you like in high school?
I went to an all-boys school. We wore blazers and white shirts and ties.
Really?
Yeah, everyone was uniformed. And that's a big difference between America and England is I always wore a school uniform. In my junior school, I had a tie, shirt, and a sweater, grey pants. So there's no, like, social difference in class, like, everyone's wearing the same clothes.
You're all the same.
So there's no, like, Mickey taking there is, obviously, but that they just take that out of the equation, It's not like, oh, that guy's dressed poorly or whatever,
Yeah.
we were all boys school, and my sister went to the all girls school, and there was 2 mixed schools in that town. But we used to do school discos with the all boys school and the all girls school. We used to mix, and it was fun. We used to get the coach to school every morning, a really nice coach to school, and I wasn't the greatest academic person. I was always at top of the bottom as opposed to no, actually no, the other way. I was always bottom of the top class.
Yes.
And I'd always be like, why can't I just get put down to the bottom class so I can be at the top?
Right.
And I might excel more and do better, but I was always like the one that was getting the lowest grades in the top class, and I was like, oh, this sucks.
always a struggle.
Yeah.
When did you start to get into cooking? Like, when did that hit you that, hey, this is, I think, what I want to do?
Yeah, so when we were young, we always went to this hotel in a place called Salton Sands, and it's in Devon, which is in the West Country of England. And we went there every half-term break. It was like 4 days. It was a super nice hotel, like 4-star hotel. And every year we went, and the hotel managers and the restaurant manager, they knew my mum and dad, first name terms. And I was always kind of fascinated, and I always looked forward to this trip, but how many people were working there and how many people were staying there and how that whole thing was just like this existence, of like...
A machine.
Yeah, people aren't at home, they're staying in this building, and people here are working, and these people... And it always fascinated me from a young age, because we went there from like, I don't know, the age of 6 or 7 all the way through to the age of like 14 or whatever. So, when we're in my last year of my senior school, and they're like, okay, it's work experience week, what do you want to do? So I was like, I want to go work in a hotel. So I went there and I did 1 day in every department, accounting, housekeeping, front of house, and the kitchen. And I thought every department sucked. I was like, oh, this is boring. There's nothing going on.
What did I do? What did I get myself into?
Yeah. And then I was in the kitchen. I was like, man, this is fun. There's like knives and it's cooking and you get to work with all this like produce that's coming in and constantly learning new stuff. And it was like, you know, very time management driven. Like you have to do this by this time to get this done and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And so I decided to write 16 letters to local hotels within the region asking for an apprentice chef program. And I got accepted by the Castle Hotel in Windsor, which is right opposite the Castle in Windsor where Prince Harry just got married.
Right.
And it was a 4-day hotel, 3-star hotel, and I did a 2-year culinary apprenticeship program where I did 1 day at school and 4 days at work.
Did you watch the wedding, by the way? Sorry.
I did. I had the pub open, and it was also FA Cup final day, which is like the Super Bowl of English football, soccer. And so I had the royal wedding on one TV and the FA Cup final on the other TV.
Was it important for you to watch? Because I know this is kind of a thing. Okay.
No, I don't care.
I mean, a lot of people really get into this, especially those who live in England. I mean,
Oh, and it was huge because Meghan Markle is of mixed race.
Right.
So, you know, there was that whole, like, you know, the royal family is really grounded now. And, you know, it's not this hoity-toity upper crust. These are like a real people. And, you know, the working class could really get behind them kind of thing, you know. So I think I was speaking to my mum and that, and I think she watched it or whatever, but she was like, you know, it was a real good sense of feeling in the country when...
That's awesome.
Because everyone likes Harry, you know. I mean, he's never going to be king. He's always the rogue prince.
Yeah, I like Harry. And yeah. Anyways. All right, so you decided you did this sort of apprenticeship, or you got accepted to one. And so was it that kind of just the beginning, the start of everything else that followed?
Yeah, so it was just like, it was supposed to be a 3-year course, but they changed the vocational qualifications, so I was able to do the original 3-year course in 2 years as long as I didn't miss any time. So I could do my qualifications, and, you know, I kind of hated going to college. It kind of sucked. You know, you sat in the kitchen and you're like, okay, you got 4 hours to make 4 dishes. You know, that's totally you know, against the reality of actually working in the kitchen.
Right.
And but I did it, and, you know, we'd go to the pub and a break or whatever, and we'd skip the health and hygiene class or whatever. And but at work, I loved it. You know, I was getting paid like £50 a week, and I left home at 16. I lived in the staff accommodation in the hotel.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, I was just working, and I was working with all these other chefs, and, you know, we had all the chef coats and the neckerchiefs and the tool hats, and it was legit. You know, we did banquet caterings, and yeah, from there it was just keep on cooking kind of thing, you know.
You left home at 16? Mm-hmm. You never went back?
I did when I worked on the QE2 cruise liner for 2 years. And when I came back from there, I was 22, and I lived at home for about 2 months, and I was like, I can't handle this.
That's it? 2 months is long enough.
Oh, I got to get out. But yeah, I left. I finished school, barely got my high school exams done, because at that point I always knew I was going to be going on this cooking course. Mm-hmm. So I didn't really study. I did way better in my mock exams than I did in my actual exams. But yeah, and I left home at 16. It was August 1990. Mm-hmm.
There's people, I feel, that can kind of be professional students. They just, school is their thing. Right. It's what they're good at. And then you have this other group that just, they want to work.
Yeah, like, I mean, if you look at it now, especially in this country, it costs you so much to go to school. And there's so many trade jobs out there that people aren't exploring. And these trade jobs pay really well, but it's been driven into people here. You got to go to school. You got to go to school. Yeah. You got to put yourself in hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of debt. You know, when you could go get a perfectly good trade job as an engineer and learn that skill and still make 50, 60 grand a year or whatever. I mean,
do you think you picked that up a little bit from your parents? Because your parents just seemed like very workhorse kind of mentality.
Yeah, they were always self-employed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so after they had the bookmakers, we sold the shop and their house, and we had all that land, so we built a new house. And this was about when I was like 16, 17, they built the new house. And then they went into the insurance business, and my parents retired when they were 55.
Nice.
Yeah. And yeah, so they've always been self-employed, so I always got that kind of like strong work ethic, like almost to the point where it's like, I have to work. And if I'm not working, I feel guilty, you know. I'm like, especially at my 2 restaurants, I'm like, I take a day off and I'm like, I should really be there, man.
I so know that feeling. It's like when you call in sick or you're just like, I'm really tired, I want to take a day off, but then you instantly feel guilty because you're at home and not working and not helping your team.
Yeah, and I see the restaurant's busy or whatever, and I'm like, oh, and I'm like, how was it? Like, yeah. I'm like, oh, I so should have been there.
I should have been there. I should have been. But it's ridiculous. Like,
Yeah.
you have to take care of yourself and
Yeah,
your family.
Yeah, totally.
You know?
I mean, you have to get that separation, but restaurant business, both spots are open 7 days a week, so email's always on, phone's
Yeah.
always on.
Yeah. The grill's always on.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
totally.
So
something's breaking down or someone's not showing up for work.
Right. No, I totally feel you on that strong work ethic, and I'm not like bragging like I have a super strong work ethic, but I do feel guilty sometimes when I don't come into work, and it's so bizarre because other people are like, I don't care.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I wish I had that feeling a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, the only time I feel like I'm truly at peace is if I'm out of the country or if I'm in a place where I don't get cell service. And I'm just like, I can't do anything about it.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
Right. That's it. I think that's the key. So, so you sort of, I mean, culinary school was kind of different for you then. It wasn't a traditional culinary school, or was it traditional?
It was. I mean, it
Okay.
was at Thames Valley University, and we had the chef lecturers and that, and it was essentially just to get the qualification in my eyes.
Okay.
Like I learned way more actually in the kitchen working with these other chefs than I did in the school. But I guess it's the grounding and and then back then there was no internet, so anything you needed to learn, like you had to pick up a cookbook and research and read. And now I come up with an idea, and the first thing I do is put it in a Google search engine and see what else is going on.
Yeah, for sure. So when did you move to the States?
2002.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That wasn't really that long ago.
Yeah, like 16 years ago. And we were in San Diego for 2 years, operating a restaurant. Whereas I used to manage Dragonfly in Ashland for 6 years. So that was the mothership restaurant kind of thing down in San Diego, and then the people who owned that wanted to open this one in Ashland, and we interviewed some people down in San Diego from Ashland, and no one really kind of fitted the bill, so we came up here and checked it out, and I was like, dude, this is cool, because I was getting pretty tired of San Diego. I'd only been there 2 years, and like 2/3 of my wardrobe was redundant. It was like 75 and nice every day, and I'm like, all these cool like London clothes, and I can't wear them. And then and there's just no gauge on the year, It's like all of a sudden someone's blowing up a snowman and throwing it on their front lawn, and it's Christmas, and you're like, oh,
It is? Yeah.
Because every day's the same pretty much.
Exactly.
It's like, there's no real temperature difference or anything.
So when you moved here, you moved straight to San Diego.
Straight to San Diego,
Okay.
2 years in San Diego, and then to Ashland. So I went from like 20 million people to 2 million people to 20,000 people in 2 years. So it's quite the downsize.
Well, yeah. Was it a little bit of a culture shock?
It was, and then I just thought Ashland would be kind of a stepping stone, that I would like move up to like Portland or Seattle and get back into a city kind of vibe again. But then it's a great little town, and it's people that live there are very globally knowledgeable, and there's a lot of travelers, and the culinary scene is pretty incredible in Ashland. And I just realized that it's like a small town, big city vibe, and we're pretty close to everything if we want to get to that big city fix. So it's
Agreed.
like, do you want to live in a big city and come to a place like Ashland, or do you want to live in Ashland and then go to the big city? That kind of trade-off. And it's nice to visit the cities, and not actually live in one.
So you guys started Dragonfly. It was essentially kind of like a little break off of this restaurant that was in San Diego. And I have very fond memories of Dragonfly. Absolutely loved Dragonfly. I was heartbroken when it closed.
Yeah, a lot of people.
Heartbroken.
A lot of people. Some people say to me, "What other restaurant you do in this town?" I'd do a Dragonfly, but like maybe a smaller scale, maybe like a food truck kind of scale or something
Just as long as there's double happiness on the menu.
Yeah. A lot of people were bummed out because I left in 2010, and it kept on going to about 2014, but it just. The wheels got a little bit dirtier. They can't.
It wasn't the same.
They weren't spinning as cleanly. It was a little more fragmented.
Okay. So you decided to open up Smithfield, and this was a partnership, right? With Dee or no?
Dee's my general manager.
Okay. Who's also your ex-wife.
Ex-wife as well, yeah.
Which blows my mind that you guys can work together so well.
We coexist.
It's amazing.
Yeah, well, it works, you know. I understand the value in having someone front of house who is so personable and works, you know, well, and has the same mentality and like-mindedness of what we expect from the business.
For sure.
So on that level, once you get past all the other differences, then, you know, you respect that and nurture it, and we still manage the place together, so.
Yeah, well, and you guys are, to me, correct me if I'm wrong, it seems like you have each other's back, too. You know, like she has your back, you have hers.
Yeah, totally.
You guys are working together in this incredibly successful
Well,
restaurant.
I mean, we've known each other quite a long time, so we know each other really well, obviously, and we were married for 7 odd years or whatever.
Right.
So, I mean, there's that, and we don't hate each other, so there's also that.
But you argue sometimes?
It can be frustrating at times, yeah, but, you know.
Okay, so you opened up Smithfield's. Did you always want to open up a restaurant like that?
You know, I wasn't 100% sure what I was doing. I was managing Dragonfly, and you know, I went and did a couple of stages up in Portland with the Olympic Provisions guys. I Elias Kai around that, and worked up there for a hot minute. And you know, I was trying to figure out what Ashland needed. You know, because there's so many restaurants in this town. Like, what was the demographic that was missing? You know, and I, not to be derogatory towards other restaurants, but I feel a lot of restaurants in town, you look at one menu and you've seen it like 5 times. There's a lot of restaurants trying to do the same thing. So I wanted to try and do something different. Not to say that I was going to be the only steakhouse in town. Obviously, there's a couple more, but I just wanted to do something different where it was more like chop house style menu, and just really focus on like charcuterie and stuff like that, and try and do something a little bit different in like an environment that was like backstreet kind of San Francisco-y, Portland kind of vibe, you know, that whole wood and chalkboard and Edison bowls, and just make it like a cool vibe. I call it like blue collar meets gold collar. Like, you can come in for a burger and a beer and be done with $20, or you can come on a nice date night and order a fillet steak for $42 and a $120 bottle of wine, and you know, there's opportunities to spend your money, but you can come in and be chill. There's no tablecloths, there's no folding your napkin on the back of the seat when you go to the bathroom. It's not that kind of restaurant. It's casual, you know, but still with high quality food and the opportunity to make it whatever you want it to be, really.
Totally. And I think the interesting thing about, you know, you were saying opening up a steakhouse type place in Ashland, I think there is sort of maybe a stereotype that it's a lot of vegetarian type establishments in Ashland, which have their place, absolutely. So I think Smithfield's did come in and offer something completely different, where you see rabbit on the menu.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's different.
And I wasn't, like, I knew from working at Dragonfly that there was still people that ate meat, and it wasn't all this PC, raw, vegan food going on. And I was just loud and proud about it. I'm like, hey, I'm opening a meat-centric restaurant. This is full on meat. I've got one vegetarian dish, and it's got dairy in it and gluten. You know, I do have vegetarians that come to my restaurant because we have great vegetarian sides and great vegetarian salads, and they respect the cooking. You know, I've even had vegans come into my restaurant, which blows my mind. But you know, we accommodate them, and we give them a good meal, and they're happy. And
hey, that's what matters, I guess, at the end of the day.
But yeah, I just wanted to be loud and proud about it. And yeah, a lot of people at the beginning were like, "Oh, you're crazy, dude. You're opening a meat restaurant in Ashland. You're gonna be out of business.
You're gonna
in
bomb."
No time. Yeah.
Yes, but Smithfield's has been open how long now?
We opened in 2011, so we're in our 8th year of business.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, our sales are up every year over and over again. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
What's one of your favorite things that you serve at Smithfield's? What do you just like love it when you hear someone's ordering it?
Yeah, I always like people order the bone marrow. I'm always just like, yeah. And when I actually hear them freak out over the bone marrow, they're like, oh my God, dude, this is amazing. Because again, it's like a niche thing. Like, maybe one other restaurant in town does it. But just hearing people, because I don't really eat my menu that much anymore. Like occasionally now and again, but I mean, I'll grab a steak, or very rarely do I sit down and eat a dinner. Like, I've got 2 young children, and they're not the most copacetic to want to hang out in the restaurant as well.
Sure.
Just like snatch and grab food and go home. But when I do eat in the restaurant, and you do eat like the dishes as they're meant to be that the customers eat, and you're like, damn, that really is good. And but yeah, bone marrow is definitely like my favorite.
And I know I don't think they're on the menu anymore, where the Scottish quail eggs.
The Scotch quail eggs.
Scotch quail eggs.
Yeah. They're not, but we do have a Scotch hen egg over at the pub, which people lose. Like, not many people know what it is.
Right.
People, like, when they get it, like, dude, this is amazing. And we, like, my cooks have got it perfectly figured out, so the roke is, like, still, like, completely runny. And it's surrounded by sausage, and then it's breadcrumbed and deep fried. So it's like fried breakfast. It's like the protein
amazing.
bomb.
Didn't you say that was like picnic food for you growing up?
Yeah, in England they're served cold.
Okay.
And it's like picnic food, and the eggs always got that little grey ring around the yolk where the egg's overcooked. But we serve ours hot, and the egg yolk's like nice and runny, and
Yum.
it's just a different. I have English people come in and they order it. I'm like, you don't get one of those like that in England, and they're like, nope.
Yeah, for sure. Do you cook at home?
No, I like to grill at home. You know, everything. I don't like washing up, you know.
Right.
But I always do the washing up. Like, if there's like a task of jobs at the house, like, I'll detail out the kitchen. Like, Claire can do laundry. Like, I always, like, don't make the bed properly, you know.
Well, yeah, I'm with you on that one. I'm a very weird person when it comes to making the bed. It has to be a certain way, and if anyone else does it, I know, and I have to redo it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I always say never be good at the jobs you don't want to do.
Yeah.
And then you won't be asked to do them.
Exactly. So, as far as Pub and Pies, when did you guys open Pub and Pies?
October 2015.
Okay, and what was the urge behind opening up a restaurant like that?
Well, it started actually when we were back in England. We went to England in 2014 for Claire's 30th birthday, and we went to this football match. It was like Swindon versus Sheffield United, real kind of lower league match, but my brother-in-law's a Swindon fan, and we were in the naughty end, you know, it's like no kids, and everyone's standing up, and lots of swearing, and, you know, heckling and abusing players and the referee and that, and screaming obscenities at the away fans and stuff.
Okay, perfect.
But there was like this little... there's this company in England, it's called Pucker Pies, and they make like 180,000 pies a day. And they serve like all the festivals, they serve all the football stadiums, and they do stores and that. Anyway, Claire went down to get a pie, and it was called this chicken balti pie. She ate it, and she's like, oh my God, this is amazing. And she's like, I'm going to go get another one. So she went to go another one. She ate it, she's like, we should do a pie shop in Ashland. And I was like, all right. This was back like 2014, yeah.
So this was Claire's idea. Your lovely bride.
Yeah, initially she was like, we should do a pie shop. And I was like, all right. I was like, thinking about it. I was like, how are we going to do this? And you know, selling food never makes much money. Selling alcohol, you make way much more money on, you know. So anyway, the Irish pub across the street, the guy who owned it then come up to me and was like, hey man, I'm getting kind of burnt out in this place. Do you want to manage this bar for me? And I was like, no. I won't manage it for you. I was like, I'll buy it from you if you want to sell it. He was like, no, I can't sell it. I was like, all right. And so I guess
this is the Irish pub right across the street from Smithfield.
From Smithfield, yeah.
Okay.
And then I guess he told his wife, and sure enough, the next day his wife comes up to me. She's like, we're selling. How much do you want to offer us?
No way.
And so, you know, we highballed, lowballed, whatever, found a place in the middle that we could do on, and it just... yeah, it was just like a pub and a pie shop. I mean, what could be more English? You know, we're gonna do an English pub with an English pie shop, which was like the style, and the perfect location. It's right across the street from the restaurant. So, you know, I've got this like casual fine dining restaurant meets this real like relaxed pub vibe atmosphere. Yeah, I call it my man cave with headaches. Like I get to go down there and chill out and watch sports and that, but I have to deal with employees and, you know, stuff breaking down and and that and.
Well, then you say too, like a pub, you know, Pub and Pies type of place. There's a lot of them on the high streets in certain communities. Yeah, I mean within England.
Well, used to be. So going back now, like, we drove from my hometown to this other town, like 7 miles, to actually go to this pie shop in Reading called Sweeney Todd's. And there was literally, because in England there's pubs everywhere. Right. There was literally like 7 pubs that were like shuttered down, boarded up, had been changed into like Metro Tesco's, which are like, Tesco's like the big superstore, and they've been changed into like these little grocery stores. And I guess people in England have just stopped going out drinking. I mean... What? everyone's like, it's so expensive.
Ugh.
And unless you have a good food program, no one's going to the pub anymore to drink 5 pints because the police got super active. And, you know, I mean, I'm not encouraged drink driving, but pretty much everyone, you know, you just go down the pub, have 5 beers, drive home. No big deal. But the police cracked down really hard, so no one's drinking and driving, which is great. And unless you have a good food program, there's no point in going to the pubs. So a lot of these pubs, they either got taken over by the breweries, so now they're like corporatized again. Like there's like a few big breweries that they own all the pubs now. None of them are independently owned by proprietors, all owned by the breweries. So it kind of lost that little bit of charm. And then the pie shops, they struggled as well. I mean, a lot of, as I said, a lot of the high streets are now, they're all like photocopied images of each other. They have Pizza Express, Costa Coffee, same generic.
Well, then you're bringing a little bit of old school to Ashland, Oregon then.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely, you know, what we try to do with Smithfields as well, is that artisan type of food. Like, how do we used to treat food before we had refrigeration? We used to cure it and preserve it in salt, so it would, you know, stand the test of time. And, you know, going back to the British Navy, I mean, they packed everything in salt and limes. That's why we were called limeys. Right. But you know, just going back to that old world artisan kind of stuff, and, you know, the pies, you know, we don't use we use a sheeter to run it, but we make all the dough by hand in small batches. They're all hand crimped. You know, the mixes we make in like 60 portion batches, so everything's just like small portion sizes, and well, not portion sizes, that sounds bad, but you know, small quantities of stuff we're making. And yeah, just that old tradition. You know, we have a cask ale on, which is how we used to drink beer in England when we made it in India, when we had colonized India. That's why it's called IPA.
IPA, right? India Pale Ale.
And we used to bring them back on the boats, and they used to be in these big wooden casks, and they used to splice it, and you'd have to drink it in a couple of days, otherwise it would go bad. But, you know, it's warm.
Well, which is what we do now. You have to drink that beer in a couple of days.
And then, you know, it was warm, flat beer, you know.
Ugh.
Right.
Ugh. All right. So you have 2 lovely children.
I do, yeah.
Yeah, very young children still.
They recently just turned 5 and recently just turned 2, yeah. My daughter just turned 5 and my son 2.
Anything surprise you about fatherhood?
You know, it's probably going to sound weird, but it wasn't as hard as what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Like, we still managed to lock in a good, like, 6 hours sleep a night and not get to it. Now it's getting more challenging, I think. When they were smaller, it was easy to manage, but now they're really growing into who they are as people as well. Like my son, he's got some speaking skills going on, but he still lets his sister do most of the talking for him, and she's quite willing to do that. But now they're more energetic, and they want to do stuff which is cool. You know, like they love going golfing. Like, we go golfing, and I just sit them in the golf cart, and my son has a little wooden putter in here. I let him putt around on the green, and either run off and pick flowers or whatever.
I love it.
And, you know, before, Claire would be like, seriously, you're going golfing? Like, what the hell, how long are you going to be? And now she's like, honey, do you want to go golfing?
Do you want to go golfing and take the kids? Well, you love to golf.
Yeah, I mean, I always say a bad day on the golf course is better than a good day in the office. So.
I don't know when you have time to play golf, but you do.
I went out yesterday morning, which was kind of crazy. We went and played out at Stuart Meadows with one of the Brothers Reed guys.
You in the smoke? You guys in the smoke?
I was like, it must be crazy, but it was good to get out.
We're wrapping up a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and get to the final 3. Best advice you've ever been given?
I wouldn't say it was much advice, but it was a comment I read, and it was in the executive chef's office on the QE2, the boat I worked on. And it was this frame piece, it's right by the desk, and it said, be nice to people on your way up, because you never know who you're going to meet on your way down.
That is good advice.
And I feel, especially, I used to be kind of a hard-ass chef to work for. Even when I had Dragonfly and it wasn't even my business, but I would be like kind of nasty and mean to people and like cooks and be very militant, like, no, you can't take a break, or, you know, work faster. And now I find I own my own business, that I have to, especially in the current climate with legal marijuana and just like how it's like, it really has taken a lot of the hospitality workers out of the industry, because they can go water and trim a plant for way more money and listen
get
to
paid
a
more.
podcast without having someone like me shout at them for minimum wage,
I know.
in hot, humid conditions.
Right.
So now I just feel I have to be, not have to be, but I think it's in my interest to be nice and kind to everyone and to be flexible and to be, accommodating and just like, hey, this is a job that we need to get done, but I don't need to be a dick about it and for them to get it done. We can just, we can work together. So the whole be nice to people on the way up because you never know who you're going to meet on the way down, I think translates more to me now as like, just be nice to people you're working with, try and create that environment that makes them want to work for you, you know?
No, it is good advice. If you were ever given a last meal and a last drink, what would that be?
Last meal is always a tough one. I always stumble on these questions because there's so many foods I like at so many different moments. Like,
and this is it. This is the last one you're ever going to get.
Last one you're ever going to have. Oh, man. I mean, it would have to be something extravagant, I guess, like some pan-seared foie gras and on top of a fillet steak with like a really rich jus and just like something that you don't eat because, it costs lots of money or whatever. But, I love fried chicken, I love burgers, I love meatloaf, I love comfort foods. There's just like so many. It would really be a game time decision, I think, if someone said, okay, this is your last meal, what do you want? Be like, I really fancy this.
You can do courses too. It could be like a 3-course final meal. So
bone marrow to begin with, and then probably a creme brulee to finish with. I'm just a sucker for those simple baked custard dishes.
I know,
crunchy sugar.
The best. Your last drink?
It'd have to be whiskey based on some level. So my current favorite's like old fashioned.
Nice.
Manhattan, anything along those realms would be good. But then, a really expensive bottle of red wine to go with that fillet steak wouldn't be too bad either.
So courses. We'll have to keep courses. And then if you ever left this place, Southern Oregon, what would bring you back here? What would you miss the most about it?
I really dig the seasons. Although now we seem to have 5 seasons. Spring, summer, smoke, fall, and winter.
Yeah, I know.
But I really dig the seasons. Like, they were the most unique seasons out of everywhere I live, The people are cool, and just like the outdoorsiness of it. But, we got Ashland, and it's a real cool community, and you can walk down the street and say high five to people and that. But then you drive half hour and you can be in the middle of nowhere, and just like there's rivers, there's mountains, there's golf courses. Great camping. I just think Southern Oregon is just a really cool, special place to live, and especially to bring up a family and stuff like that. They get to experience all these great outdoorsy stuff.
Yeah. Very good. Good stuff, Neil Clooney. If you're listening to this podcast on iTunes and you like it, please subscribe, rate, and review. It helps other people find us. You can also listen to us on Google Play. You can check out the video portion of this podcast at ktvl.com. Just click on features, then off script. And please go see and visit Neil Clooney at Smithfield's and Pub and Pies. 7 days a week?
7 days a week.
Oh,
yep.
It's good. It's some of the best food I've ever had. All right, Neil Clooney, thank you so much.
Thank you, Trish.